evening and welcome to Padfoot and Prongs News. Today I'm here with my fellow news anchor, Elaine Grizzle. Let's join her now in the studio.
Thanks, Monique. Good evening to everyone. Our top story tonight is the release of Shirley Temple's newest movie. Rose Cleveland has been following this story all day. Rose, can you please tell us more on this?
Yes, Elaine. Today, victims of the economic shortage all over the country are rejoicing over one little girl. Shirley Temple's newest movie release has impacted the great income decline greatly by providing relief in the midst of this fearful time. Her newest movie release, Stand Up and Cheer, was inspired by the stressful time and joy America's sweetheart could bring to those suffering during this economic shortage. President Roosevelt once said, "When the spirit of the people is lower than at any time during this economic crisis, it is a splendid thing that for 15 cents an American can go to the movies and look at the smiling face of a baby and forget his troubles." Reporting live, Padfoot and Prongs News.
Thanks, Rose. Wow, it's amazing to see how a smiling face with dimples and tap dancing shoes can have such an impact on such a terrible crisis.
Yes, Elaine. Isn't she such a cutie with her blonde curls?
Yes, she is. In our next news story, we will learn about the monumental event of the first woman in space.
Today we celebrate the historic event of the first woman in space. Noelle Soto, will you please tell us more on this?
Makenna, born on March 6, 1937, became the first woman to journey into space when she was launched on the Vostok 6 mission June 16, 1963. She applied for the mission during her studies at the Soviet Air Force Academy and was chosen as the final candidate once the 5 finalists were chosen. Tereshkova became the first civilian to fly in space, setting the bar for the future adventures. Before her big journey, she worked in a factory as a textile producer and animator skydiver, and hopes to the near future embark on another trip into the starry skies. Valentina Tereshkova once started, "If a woman can be a railroad worker in Russia, why can't they?"
I think it's fascinating that this woman pursued her dream of going to space even though men told her she could not.
Back. I am Rose Cleveland. And I am Anika. Today we have discovered some shocking news. The planet we all love is no longer a planet. Let's go to Elaine Grizzle for details.
Thanks, Monique. Today, Pluto was redefined as a dwarf planet instead of a...
Thank you, Mr. Chang, for being here with us today.
Oh yes, it's a wonderful privilege to be here. Thank you.
Yes, of course. I did some research, and I noticed that you strongly believe that Pluto should remain a planet. Now, why is that?
Well, according to scientific requirements, for a planet to be defined as a planet, it must meet 4 criteria. First, it must be round due to its own gravity. Second, the planet-like object must revolve around a star. Third, it must be small enough that it isn't a star itself. Lastly, the criteria that Pluto does not fulfill is that it's very dramatic and sad, but its orbit is not clear of any other objects. And from this, they downgraded him. But I still believe that he should still be a planet. I mean, come on, yeah.
That's interesting, yes.
Well, Earth, as we all know, has 1 single moon, but Jupiter has 50 moons. Of course, most of the other planets have moons as well.
Whoa, that's a lot of moons. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Thank you, Mr. Chang, for joining us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
No, the pleasure was ours. Please come and speak with us again soon. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Wow, Mr. Chang made some very good points, but we can't argue with the International Astronomical Union. I guess I'm just going to have to revise my acronym. My very educated mother just served us nachos.
Yeah, and I just love nachos.
Yes, me too. But it's such a shame. There are no longer 9 planets. We're back down to 8. Today we have breaking news from the disaster that has struck at the annual Boston Marathon. We are broadcasting live from the event. Monique Contreras, will you please provide us with details on this event?
Yes, this fine day in April was turned from a sweaty triumph for 3,000 runners into screams of terror. 2 bombs exploded near the finish line of the Boston Marathon at approximately 2:50 in the afternoon. Killing 3 and wounding 200 or more, these 2 bombs exploded within 8 to 12 seconds between each other. One of the victims, 8-year-old Martin Richard, was killed by one of these bombs as he waited to give his dad a hug at the finish line. President Obama addressed the nation, stating, "This is a heinous and cowardly act, and we will find whoever who did this and bring him to justice." Back to you, Rose.
Wow, so unbelievable and yet so true.
Gosh, just imagine 1 minute you're running happily towards the finish line, and then the next minute you're laying on the ground. Unimaginable the fear the poor people felt. Well, thanks for joining us on Padfoot and Fawn's News. Remember, we are always updating you on breaking world news.